Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, debunking mythology. Sattology means science of truth, or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science or study of fake, lie, or imagination. Sattology is the word we should use instead of mythology, at least in the Western parlance. Because if you use the word mythology, you're actually telling that your history has no basis. Most of the native histories of the world, most of them, were classified as mythology, which in their academic parlance meant that there are no historical proofs. But if you look at the documentation of Ramayana, Mahabharata, and also other histories from Vedas, you'll very clearly know that most of the places of the world were there. They're mentioned in those books, and the references are given that how you can see that this is that place. The references of mountains are most important. Rivers may change path, but mountains do not change path. Oceans don't change path. Oceans will remain as oceans. So I have very, very special guest today, and we are discussing many of these matters, but more from the philosophical point of view. So let us welcome Maria Wirth. Welcome to the show.
Namaste.
Namaste. So,
Thank you, Aditya.
one of the things which I really find out is, especially in the academic circles, even though the lot of mood is changing and a lot of new authors are there and they are doing a wonderful work in Indian landscape. But generally, the people who come out of India to showcase their culture, they always seek validation from the very same people who destroyed their identity in the first place. Have you seen that phenomena? You visit so many conferences.
Yeah, I mean, this is very unfortunate. Not all, of course, but many, it's getting better, much better in recent time. But it is a very sad thing that this kind of trying to get validation from Westerners is still very much there. So just now recently, I don't see you, then I can't really talk attitude. Well, I try. I see only myself now, so it's a bit strange. I just heard a video by Salvatore Papone, how is it called? An Australian who teaches in America, and he gave interviews recently on Indian TV, on India Today, Enclave, and so on. And he was saying also that as a class, the intellectuals are anti-India. Of course, also anti-Modi, anti-BJP, but ultimately anti-India. And it's very, very dangerous because he suggested to Google, is India fascist? And there are about 10, posts which come up, which say India is becoming a fascist country or is a fascist country. And this is very incredible and dangerous. And I feel the vilification is going so badly right now about India and especially Hindus. This needs to. I don't know what to say. He put out a very important point, saying that Westerners, Americans, Europeans, it's true, we have no idea about India. We don't know about India. And so we believe what we read in Washington Post or New York Times or these big, famous, so-called very respectable media outlets. And they are so biased. It's very dangerous for India. I don't know how to counter this. And I feel we are in a very difficult position because we keep saying we are good. Yeah, we are good. We are the only tradition which is, I consider myself a Hindu. I assume you know this, even though I was born a Christian. And Hindu Dharma is, I feel it will win because it is the most logical is a wrong word, how to say, which could could be best understood by everybody is that this is closest to the truth. Ultimately, the truth cannot be put in words. But if it has to be put in words, then Sanatana Dharma is the best approximation. It points to the truth in a very clear way. And I feel, and the truth is basically that there is a divinity in us. I mean, this oneness is in us also. And my feeling is this. This was in ancient times what Aditya said all over the world. When you read the Puranas, Sugriva's Atlas, I mean, the whole world is included. And it has disappeared everywhere. Now they talk about Mesopotamia and Inca and Maya because these cultures are all gone. And then you can talk about them. But in India, that is the only place where it is still living alive. And I feel this is very dangerous for them because they don't want human beings to be strong human beings, empowered human beings, in the sense that we know that Atma is within us, is in everyone. It is a very different, we are not just limited to this person, we are not just body and mind. And to the goal of life, this is the only tradition which has which answers the question: why are we here actually? How are we supposed to live? What is the purpose of life? And it says, yeah, you try to discover your essence, which is in all of us. And I think everybody has these questions, especially youngsters. When you are in teenage, so many questions come. Why I am here? What will happen after death? If my parents had not met, what would had happened to me? Would I be somewhere else? Would I be somebody else? I had these questions, even like dreams. How do I know that I'm not dreaming now? And so in Hindu Dharma, the Sanatana Dharma, now it's called Hinduism, which is not the correct word because it's not dogmatic at all. So in this, for me, the answers were here. I was with Lufthansa earlier, and I was traveling all over the world, not all over the world, but also through America, South America, Middle America, North America. And I remember in Panama, I went to a little island off the coast, and I took a room in a little lodge, and I wanted to get clear about what is important in life. I was there a few days, and when I left, I still didn't know. And only when I came to India, suddenly all these questions were answered. And there's a joy also about this. I mean, I don't know what is the truth. And I know it intellectually, and sometimes one gets an inkling. But just being aware of this and knowing that sometimes you stop the mind because this constant thinking is basically hiding what we really are. So I feel, yeah, Hindu Dharma has the best, has the knowledge, and this knowledge is not meant to reach the common people all over the world, including in India. And that's why there is this massive vilification campaign. And sometimes I wonder whether people get paid for, I don't know, writing articles which are so anti-India, anti-Hindu. I mean, India is definitely not a fascist country. I mean, I am living in India. I mean, the government is criticized so badly by so many people. Nothing happens to them. So this is an agenda, I feel. And yeah, the academicians, there are two groups basically. One who attack India, and there are also people who keep stressing, look, we are the only tradition which is all inclusive. We are the only one which say the whole world is one family. We are the only ones who say that the divine is in everyone. So, but this, just saying this, I don't know. It does not reach. I don't know what to do. It is true, but the others keep attacking us as fascist, as yeah, planning genocides of minorities. I mean, it's so absurd. I don't know what to say even. Aditya?
No, the major part of the, like when you go to any conferences and you attend these conferences, the one thing which really strikes you, that how hard some of the leading so-called the new age, which are very much trying to highlight the real history of India, they try to take validation from Western scholars. You just mentioned the S. Babons, Australian, who is an American professor visiting India and calling Shekhar Gupta as his Guru of Bharat. Now, Shekhar Gupta, we all know, he was, there was a corruption case and where he was reprimanded severely. So that is one instance, and they all carry the same mindset of the uh, British historians, like similar kind of historians, where they question everything which is done by the new researchers, which are doing a wonderful work. Many good researchers are there. Manoshi Sinha, and many other people are there who are doing a wonderful work. And these are the same people. Now he's visiting there. Now, so far, now the point which what I wanted to ask you, discuss with you is this: in seeking the validation, they negate themselves. They negate their previous history. Like one of the things which I normally get asked, that in one of my books, The Global Footprint of Ramayana, that how did Sugriv reach there? I mean, they had no planes. So my point is, how did Europeans reach India? Through water, you know, and through land too. Europe is a connected land to India. It's all different countries are there now, but earlier it was all connected land, a large piece of land you can travel through. So the illogical idea that others can come to India, but Indians cannot go outside. This was a colonial idea which was imposed on Indians, that we have come to your land to civilize you, but you have never come to our land to civilize us. That's why the whole theory was Aryan invasion theory. And if you look at the European, even today, Reunion Island in near the southern coast of Africa, and many other islands are still owned by French. Diego Garcia is owned by the British, right in the Indian Ocean. There are many territories. So the West has more land than anybody else, and the least population than anybody else. So if you look at the European islands, colonies all over the world are still existing, just not being talked about. And if anyone questions that, then that becomes an enemy of the West. So how do you think that the Indian historians and even TV analysts and anchors, who are so much enamored to creating a good relationship with the West without getting anything back from the West, no respect, no identity, and not even money, because money is used to change the Indians' minds towards the European narration. So, what is your view on that?
I feel it is actually a little bit pitiable. They look pitiable. I mean, we really do, Westerners do not appreciate if somebody is too much kind of saying yes, yes, or you are right, what you say is good. I feel that's what I also notice when I read the Puranas. I'm reading right now, still for maybe 2 years already, the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it is very clear that to me, I feel we are not the epitome of the highest human, what is possible for a human being. And there were different time frames, and the whole concept of the yugas. It is so much present in India, and I don't think any historian, any Indian historian, dares even to mention that maybe we are here millions of years, even humans, and maybe also other lokas, other beings who have maybe more knowledge even, or who have a longer longevity. I mean, they have a longer lifespan than we humans. So sometimes I wish Indians would just blast into this, I am convinced, false ancient history. We were not primitive. 10,000 years, basically, we did not know anything. We were hunter-gatherers. How is it possible that these ancient temples, like even Kailash Mandir, why is nobody really searching when it was built? It cannot have been built in the 8th century within 25 years. It is impossible. Like the Cologne Cathedral, it took 600 years between, I think, 1200 and 1800. And soon after it was finished, repairs started. And then we just take it for granted that the great the great temple in Tanjore, that it was built also within 35 years or so. And this huge heavy dome was put up there. And I mean, we try to, we are given explanations by historians also regarding the pyramids, which we accept, but when we think a little deeper, it's impossible. Kailash Mandir, who would even get the idea to scoop it out of a mountain? It is, and Kedarnath Mandir, everybody says 1,000-year-old Kedarnath Mandir. It must be much older. I wish there would be real research done. And then also this point, the scriptures. How could the Vedas, philosophy, how could they know that all is one? I mean, recently, when I was a child, there was still, we would make fun, some Germans, the Indians think all is Maya. Maya means illusion. Even now, there would be people who think this tape is no illusion. What nonsense, no? If you don't think deeper. But now it has been confirmed. But how did this thousands of years ago? Basically, this knowledge was given at the start of this cycle of this universe. So I don't know why why Indians, Hindus don't stress their huge heritage. There's still so much. We pick. Debroy says there are still 40 million texts, and out of those 40 million texts, I couldn't believe it, but I checked again. He said 40 million. There are only about 5% translated and studied, and there are also thousands of scientific texts amongst them. Now, what intrigues me, for example, the scientists like Einstein, Oppenheimer, Schrödinger, Heisenberg, Werner von Braun, they all knew about Indian Vedanta, about Indian philosophy, and they all acknowledged it. But they did not say if they had concrete inputs for their scientific research. They all are praised as the inventor or the. And I am just now writing an article. I have written an article, Indian influence on German philosophers. And now I am writing an article on the continuation on Indian scientists. For example, regarding the philosophers, there was one, just to say that there were Westerners which were very open, but now somehow it has closed because I feel they would lose a lot, the West would lose a lot if they would admit how much they have taken from India. and those Indians who kind of acquiesce and keep telling them, yes, West is right in the research, they are just very useful for them. So there is one German writer famous in 18th century, Heinrich Heine is his name, and he was saying, I thought this was a very interesting quote. He said, "We Germans, we have to watch the British, Portuguese, Dutch ships, big ships laden with the richest gold from India, passing, going to their home countries. But we Germans will not be left behind. We will take their knowledge. And our Sanskrit scholars in Bonn and Munich, they will provide us with this wealth." So in the 18th, 19th century, it was very clear that there's great, great wealth in India. And the church didn't like it, of course. Incidentally, there are two philosophers, which one of them, Hegel, he's quite well known. He's taught also in India, I am taught. And he was very critical of India. He was never in India, but he believed the British. And he says the Indians are cunning and I don't have no morals and something like this. Only one good thing he left for India, he was saying the women are beautiful. But otherwise, he put down India very badly. And Immanuel Kant, he didn't mention much about India. And those two are the big philosophers, whereas Schopenhauer, Herder, and many others, who praised India. Even Herder was saying our religion, Christianity, will never ever take root in India. I don't think he expected that there would be so much bribing and so much scheming from the side of the Christians, that they are rather successful. Only yesterday I saw on TV that in Rajasthan there was a kind of conversion scam racket, and 400 families have converted to Christianity, and anti-Hindu slogans were raised. So there is a very systematic attack on India, and I feel it has also to do with the fact that there's so much knowledge still in India, and Indians have an advantage. If Indians study Sanskrit, it comes to them much easier than it would come to Westerners. Indians also have an advantage that for many of them, especially for those who do sadhana, they still have an inkling, an idea what it means pure consciousness. Pure means thoughtless. Westerners usually cannot separate consciousness from thoughts. And even also those modern philosophers who basically are based on Indian philosophy, but they get things a bit wrong. They don't really understand this. And then Indians have also the advantage that they still are in touch with the devas and devis. I mean, every day in the mandirs, there's still the pujas are done, the yajnas are done. So maybe there are some people in the West who know and who are afraid that Indians could zoom ahead if they get knowledge again, like Ramanujan, Srinivas Ramanujan. If we really would take this as a locus seriously, I feel India would be very much stronger. And my feeling is really India has to become the Jagat Guru. It doesn't look like right now because their texts are so bad, but ultimately it has to be because truth needs to win. Satyameva Jayate. It has to win.
See,
But it is.
yes. So one of the things I have a real problem with the Jagat Guru concept, because
Mm,
uh, like if I tell somebody commonsensically that I am your guru or I want to tell you something, nobody is going to listen to me, because they will consider that it's an egoistic talk, or it's a supremacist talk in today's world. Okay. But when I tell people that I want to serve everybody, I want to become the Jagat Sevak, then the rest of the world will call you Guru, because the Guru never calls himself as a Guru. Guru is always busy in serving others. So the whole concept of India being a Vishwa Guru will only happen when others call India as a Vishwa Guru. And believe me, under the academic narrative is a kind of a trishank, like it's a very small group of people, but they control the mindset of the larger group of people. But that but that the coterie of people is very small. Now the rest of the world already has very strong linkages with India somehow, through their mind, through their like through their yoga. In the heart of the heart, India has a great cultural or a good view for in their hearts. Like India has a good image in their hearts, but the academics are the ones who spoil everything. Like for example, even in the spiritual circles, I'm talking about people who are living in the West but trying to follow Hindu culture. They will suddenly come to a conclusion that, without understanding the politics of India, they'll say Modi is bad. Now, how did Modi and Dharma connect? Prime Minister Modi is a politician. He's a Prime Minister of India, which is acceptable. So, but the propaganda by the academic goes on, and now the same people are reinforced from India by the Indian academics. Indian academics continue the same narrative like the Western narrative, even today, even though there are so many good authors who have done a wonderful work exposing Harvard, exposing other universities. They've done a good job, but the realization has is not setting in the Indian academics or the Indian education system, Indian education ministry, where they have to start claiming in line with the revealed facts, the new facts. See, one theory about the knowledge is if you want to be scientific, if you want to have a scientific approach to education, then you need to continuously evaluate through data points. What is changing now? Like there are so many books written of that India was never colonized. India always fought. I mean, the British were trying to colonize, but it always fought. There was never a time British were peacefully living in India, ever. The same happened with the Islamic invaders from Persia. They could never live in peace. That's why they had to surround themselves with huge armies. We have a very good example of Aurangzeb when he came to Maharashtra near Aurangabad, where he died actually 1707. He came with a soldier strength of around 8 lakh people, 800,000 people, and to protect himself. Why did he need so much protection if everybody loved him? Because he was not loved by anybody. You know, same as Tipu Sultan. Tipu Sultan could not move without bodyguards. If he was loved by anybody, then why would he move with so many bodyguards? Because the Hindus were fighting with him constantly. Same as Akbar. Akbar had to make friends with all the Hindu kings so he can rule. If and ultimately he was more scared from his own family members. If everybody loved him, which now the academics say, did he need so much security? So much security, even that time. And there no bombs over there, no like today's terrorist activities they were not there. Still, he was scared because they could not rule India without cooperation of Hindus. These are the same Hindus today in the academic circles and other places who still cooperate with the same mindset, and that's how the same thing is going on. And the people like you and me and other people we are a very small minority, by the way, that we are talking about it openly, we are risking ourselves, and we're talking about it openly because we want to question this kind of mindset which is going on. The solutions also we know, but in this show we are not going to discuss solutions here. We're going to discuss the problems, because that is a good thing to do. People have to realize that. So solutions are also there. So why, one more question in a different perspective, probably you'll speak on some other points also. Like why, like a S. Babons, I don't know his full name, Australian professor in American university, and then you have some other Americans who are claim to be Hindus in the West, and there are some other professors who openly are anti-Hindu in the West. I sometimes feel those anti-Hindu professors do a better job in uniting Hindus than the pro-Hindu professors, because the pro-Hindu professors, they continue the Western point of view, because they come from that academic point of view. They appreciate India, at the same time they appreciate wrong people in India. Like they come to India and they associate with people whom I cannot, because they have no understanding, even if a person is living in the West. So how do you explain this phenomena, because you live there in Dehradun and you know exactly.
Sometimes I wonder whether many people are simply paid for. There is one Berliman on Twitter, and I remember his profile before he started to be absolutely in favor of Islam, that he cannot live from being a journalist. So, but thankfully, I don't know, Brotherhood or some Muslim friends are helping him. And from that time onwards, he completely changed his view. Absolutely. Now, there are this, who is paying them? I don't know, because there seems to be an interest behind the scenes to pay such people. Because what I said, India is the last ancient culture, and my impression is they want to finish it off. They want to finish it off for maybe the reason that Indians first and the world should not know how much India has contributed. And also, in the world, common people should not know about Indian philosophy. Even many Indians don't know what is really Vedanta, what is Sankhya, what is the basic concept of Indian philosophy. I mean, many just do puja. I mean, it's good they have their connection with Bhagwan, and this is already very important. But I, yeah, I feel many there, there is payment for people. There may be payment for people, because I cannot understand why so many are so negative for the most inclusive, most yeah, understandable tradition. For example, there was on Quora, there was one question to which I answered. It's incredible, the question. Now it has been taken down, meanwhile, it was maybe 5, 6 years ago. And it said, will India become the most hated country in the world? I mean, imagine such a question. So I replied, India will never become the most hated country. And I gave some points. I put it on my blog, because Quora took it down after quite some time. He left it there. Then I got a message. It was not from Quora, but somebody wrote to me I should remove my last sentence. The last sentence was, it was also about there are too many Indians abroad, and people know how well they adapt to their societies, and how they are not violent, how they don't commit crimes, and so many points I brought. And then the last sentence I wrote, well, maybe I should make one condition: India will never become the most hated country in the world as long as it is Hindu majority. Now, I was asked, somebody asked me, it was not Quora, to take down this last sentence. I didn't, because I felt it was important. And then Quora took down my whole reply. But imagine that Quora allows a question like this. It is, I mean, And then it doesn't allow a very reasonable reply. There was also another question. Why is there now, in the last years since Modi came to the government, more hatred for Muslims in India? Something, I mean, who is behind this? Or so many people on Twitter, I don't know how it will work out now, but who spoke up in favor of Hindus, they were very much curtailed. I was now for over 2 years, I was stuck. My Twitter follow account was stuck completely. It went down a little, then it went up a little, and down, and it was nothing moved. In recent some 2 months, suddenly it moves slowly a little bit up. So who is behind the social media? They have so much power. Facebook post was also removed by me, where I mentioned just what Christianity and Islam say. I don't criticize them. People think I am criticizing. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying what they teach their children. And I know it because I grew up as a Christian. And I know that Christians think that Hindus need to be converted to be saved. Now, they don't have a proof, of course. And this is outrageous. No proof, but forcing, and for many centuries, they were brutal in forcing people, as brutal as ISIS is now. They had torture instruments and all. So, yeah, I lost now. I went around again. Sorry, Aditya. But I feel many people are paid for, and there are at the back. There are still other powers, more powerful, who drive the narrative, and who are very interested in that Hindu Dharma should not flourish. But my feeling is we are on an upward curve, and there are not only these academicians who are against us, but more and more now also are speaking up in favor of us. Like I wrote my first article in English. It came in a local newspaper. Why Christian missionaries harm India. And I gave it to an Indian friend who is a Hindu, very much in favor of Hinduism. And after reading it, he's older to me, he has passed away meanwhile. And after reading it, he said with a very soft voice, it really touched me. He said, Maria, I did not know that one can say these things. So we have been, Indians have been put down for so long, so badly, that now slowly we come up. And now I think there are many groups now who want to do something for the tradition and who see the danger. And I think it's getting much, much better.
It is definitely improving and it is definitely getting better. Otherwise, we won't be speaking like this on the show live, and we'll be talking all these things openly because things are getting better. And there is a very famous Shankaracharya once personally told me, one of the Shankaracharyas today, he told me, even if 10% of Hindus start speaking openly and inviting others to come to Sanatan Dharma, then the world will change in 2 years. He did not say even 10 years, it's 2 years. And so now it is gradually happening, but only thing is now we have to see the biggest we can save anyone is from the wrath of karma. Karma is the biggest thing that we have on our head, and which only Sanatan Dharma has a solution to that. So with that, we have the solutions also. One last point and we'll end the show is that what do you think of the latest crop of writers which are coming up and who are actually documenting the real history, but their work never gets highlighted or promoted by the governments of India? Many state governments continue the Western thought process because, like you said, they are the leverages, like they are being handled through money by the West, and a lot of other things are there. media, money, all these things are there. But the Indian Hindu businessmen do not also private business do not also support their own causes, like where their voice gets heard powerfully across the world. I see that happening. Like in the West, Elon Musk swears to Christianity. He funds Christianity missions. Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, is clearly a Christian. He funds the Christian missionaries. Now, there are many other businessmen like that also in their private capacity. But we don't see an Indian businessman coming. Like, for example, many of the premier anti-Hindu universities are funded by the Indian businessmen. I've been saying that for years and years. The Indian businessmen are funding the anti-Hindu campuses. Indian American doctors are funding the anti-Hindu campuses. So uh, and privately they all do want to go to the temple. They'll observe Diwali and all those things. They'll give $51, but at the universities they give millions of dollars. So when you ask them that at one point you want to save yourself, what about the community through which you came from? What about that? But they have no idea. They're blank over there. What are you talking about? We are doing it for the development of science. That's what they say. I said, there is nothing science over there. It's all propaganda. The science is there in Vedic
Maybe,
literatures. You know. So go ahead.
yeah, I really think maybe it's still a leftover that Indians had to be so friendly towards the white people during colonial time to basically survive also, no? And I mean, if they go there and then they are friendly and then they are, I don't know why the businessman supports it. It should not be. They should really support Hindu causes. I think Rajiv Malhotra in his recent book, I haven't read it yet, but he also talks about this, that we Hindus basically fund our own demise in which is very sad. But maybe it's getting better. By now, we know Indians know what Westerners are like. I mean, there is no need for looking up to them at all. And so I hope it's getting better. But this feeling that I am connected with Harvard or I am connected with, yeah, this is kind of ego thing. I don't know. I really don't know why they do it.
You know,
Did you?
it is definitely a case of identity. But thank you so much, Maria, for coming on the show today and
Thank you,
sharing
Aditya.
your thoughts in that. And for the viewers who are watching this show, do like, subscribe, and share. Also become a member and do our course member on patreon.com Sattology as well as YouTube. And also join our courses. We have two courses. One is 12x debunking mythology course, which will completely blow your mind. Join that course. Or the second course we have is a 12x yoga certification course, which will completely blow your mind. Both are based on Sanskrit texts and very, very authentic. And there are a lot of reviews about those courses also coming, which are available all over the place. You can ask many people who have done this course from us. Namaste and thank you. And I'll see you next time.
Namaste.